Greetings, brothers and sisters. So, look at Sean Penn. Why so glum, Sean? Why so sad, you gollum-looking MNFer? Sean Penn describes meeting Ukraine's president with Anderson Cooper, so we're going to come back to this. We're going to go over to Madonna. One of my viewers sent me this. There's with Madonna looks after she's used various filters in Photoshop. This is what she looks like in reality. She's looking very witch-like, very quintessential Madam Expiration Date, right? She puts the X in Madam Expiration Date. So here she's pushing some, I think, new album called Frozen. Like here's her multiple personality stuff, and there's the remix. I got the remix just in case you were hoping they would do something like that. There she is doing her ghoulish dance. She seemed to have gotten over her anger at Putin. She's wearing some sort of giant boots. And there's, she likes the crosses. She likes taking pictures of herself. She likes taking naps. That's the expiration date part. And so Madonna's out there sucking, because we're going to come back to Sean Penn. So I thought it was interesting. Somebody sent me something on Madonna when I was already going to make a video featuring Sean Penn. I'm going to come back to this, but, they use these wars and these social, commentary things that they do. They use them as a way to promote something of themselves. A movie, in this case an album, or just promoting themselves as a brand. And that makes it suck, right? When you're doing it for selfish reasons and you're just going along with a contrived Hollywood liberal position, then it sucks, right? It's it's just being a faketivist, and it's so insincere and it's so easily seen as fake and artificial and superficial. And Madam Expiration Date has made a living doing this because she's not a caring person, right? She's not somebody who's compassionate and caring. She's just Madam Expiration Date. All right, let's move on to but let's start here with Kanye and work our way over to Jon Stewart and some of these other things. Pete Davidson's pal, Ricky Velez, calls out Kanye West for internet thuggery. You mean claymation? Later, a claymation version of the rapper is seen putting a bag over a Davidson-like character's head and then kidnapping him. Here it is. Boom! It's internet thuggery. Kanye West grabs Cheney Jones' butt before hopping on a private jet. This is actually a news story. This is his Kim. This is the Kim Kardashian lookalike, and here is the alleged butt grab. It's more like a pat. Come on, it's not a grab. It's a pat. I'm calling BS. Kanye West shares divorce post as Kim Kardashian is declared single. So here it is. It says, divorce feels like full-blown COVID. Divorce feels like your doctor don't know shit. Divorce feels like you're walking on glass. Divorce feels like you're running through a glass wall. Divorce feels like you're being bullied in a class hall. His rhyming skills are here. Divorce feels like you're getting beat up in the mall. Divorce feels like a hand was burned on a stove. Divorce feels like your soul was dragged over coals, which wouldn't hurt your soul at all. Your soul doesn't feel, well, whatever. Come on, Kanye, that was, we expect more from you. Divorce feels like your grandmother never got that cold. What? Divorce feels like your grandmother never got that cold. Divorce feels like the first play of the Super Bowl and your ankle gets rolled. Divorce feels like your kids were snatched from your control. Divorce feels like you've been shot and traffic is slow. Well, I guess the shot part. Divorce feels like heavy breathing. Divorce feels like suffocating, barely breathing. There's more there. You can go find it for yourself. Harvey Weinstein caught smuggling a box of Milk Duds into prison. I see this headline 3 times. I've cracked up every time I've read it. Shoot for the stars, Harvey. Look at this poor MNFer with his mangled crotch area and his milk duds. Like he's been, I don't know, let me read this. It might be fine to read it yet. Harvey Weinstein was reprimanded in prison after being caught with a contraband box of milk duds. L.A. County jail guards found and confiscated the candy on November 10th after the disgraced movie producer, 69, had a face-to-face meeting with one of his attorneys, Sean Berkeley, Variety reported. Sean Berkeley definitely is a milk dud smuggler. Let's just put that out there. And it says, Harvey Weinstein claimed he was the one who brought the beloved movie star theater snack with him when he was extradited from New York to Los Angeles last July, according to the records viewed by Variety. Are you saying that he's had these milk duds since last July? Come on, Harvey, eat those milk duds. All right, Harvey. Hilaria Baldwin taking a social media break amid Alex's wrongful death suit. Here's the post. Hi, friends. I'm going to take a social break. I promise I'll be back. I love you all and know you worry, so want to give you a heads up. I might check in from time to time, dropping you a photo and letting you know we are okay. Be good to yourselves and so much love and good energy. See you soon. Hilaria Baldwin. Be good to yourselves. I cherish your community. I'll come right back. Be well. Love you, HB. Love this. Enjoy your well-deserved social media break. There's lots of people that actually, you know, if these are real accounts, who knows? But she'll be back because this is, you know, this is her number one thing. Gary Payton, Shaq used to use bathroom in a bucket, dump it on rookies. I saw this the other day on my phone YouTube feed, and then somebody said this was on, I guess, MSNBC or something.
Yeah. Shaq is a jokester.
Shaq's a jokester.
Oh, yeah. So if one of the rookies would be in a stall, he would take a...
So a rookie would be in the stall going to the bathroom, number 2.
Bucket, and use the bathroom in it for about a week.
So that's, you know, kind of strange. Seems like a weird thing to do.
Okay. And then all of a sudden he'll pour it on them.
What? That's not...
So we start being jokesters.
That's not a joke. That's not a practical joke. That's like twisted in some way, bro. That's not cool at all. Like, what are you talking about? That's disgusting. So in the NBA, they haze rookies. Like, rookies go through this hazing process, which is abusive, right? Remember when all these basketball players were saying they were anti-abuse and anti-prejudice and these things, the BLM movement. But the way they treat rookies is, a form of this hazing. Hazing is just a form of abuse. And, like, the rookies have to carry the luggage of the veterans and things like that. Like, they have to, do basically servant work or whatever it might be, right? They get abused by the veterans. It's something that is very prolific in the NBA and more than any other sport, I think, right? And, Shaquille O'Neal, like, I know he's done, like, good things. Like, he stops on the side of the road and helps people change tires. And, like, I know he gives a lot of money just to random people on the street. He bought some guy and a woman were in the jewelry store, and he bought their engagement ring for him, like stuff like that, right? I mean, he's got really thin skin, but there's things that he does that I know, are factual, that he does things like that. But this is just wrong on every level. That's not a joke. That's not funny. There's something just depraved about that. That's your teammates, and you're dumping a week's bucket's worth of, it's Shaq on top of it. You think, how much waste could Shaq produce in a week? These are professional, highly skilled athletes, and he's like demeaning them in this way. And this guy, Gary Payton, thinks it was a joke, right? John Storrs mocks S-head Tucker Carlson over Vladimir Putin defense. And so apparently Tucker Carlson said some maybe positive things about Putin and tried to walk it back. John Stewart called him a dishonest propagandist. There's nothing you can take out of context with people like Carlson because none of it's real. He said that. Well, you Democratic shills, right? you liberal Democratic Hollywood shills are the faketivists. You're what I call the faketivists. And one of the biggest faketivists, the one who really puts a lot of effort into it, is this guy. Not this guy. Not this guy, but this guy.
Sean, you're one of the few people who sat down with President Zelensky on the eve of this invasion. Are you at all surprised how he has...
There he is. Look at these two. I mean, this guy's like 5'4", so Sean Penn must be like 5'3". Look at these giants of a men who are out there and, you know, acting and posing and, you know.
led this country thus far? I mean, this guy, he's 44 years old. He went to law school. He was an actor and a comedian who played a president on television.
Exactly, and now he's playing a president in real life.
He has rallied this nation in an extraordinary way. Did it surprise you at all?
You know, I when I talk about President Zelensky, I think it should be said that I'm talking about most of what I observed in Ukrainian people. You know, we have these
wow, looking ghoulish, huh?
Inspirational figures in our micro lives. You know, I have extraordinary children that inspire me, an extraordinary estranged wife who inspires me.
Estranged Your estranged wife inspires you? Come on, Spicoli.
Daily. And then there's the macro inspiration of these great figures of history. Meeting with President Zelensky the day before the invasion, and then meeting with him again on the...
Look at Anderson Cooper trying to be serious. Look at him.
The day of the invasion. I don't know if he knew that he was born for this.
He's not born for this, bro. He's a horrible, embarrassing comedian, right? Like we saw the clips.
But it was clear I was in the presence of something, and again, I think reflected of so...
It looks like he's about to cry. It's okay, Sean. It's okay. It's just a war. It's just a war with Ukraine, and your pal there, who was born for this, the comedian.
Many Ukrainians. That was new to the modern world in terms of courage and dignity. And
so here's the thing about this. You know, these Hollywood faketivists are the worst. They all, well, let's finish this up and I'll do this. It'll be easier for me to do it in the voiceover section.
And love that comes out of the man, and the way
he's radiating love.
Has unified that country. And I think Mr. Putin certainly added to paving the way to that. But this is such an extraordinary moment, and
it's extraordinary.
Was endlessly impressed and moved by him and terrified for him and for Ukraine.
He's just terrified. Look at him. He's such a caring individual. He cares just so much. He doesn't care about the Russian children. You know, economic sanctions, I say this in every video, it starves children. It's factual. We know children starve when you give economic sanctions. Ordinary people suffer, and the leaders don't. So what it does do is, which I've said before recently, just repeating this here, is that if you bomb a country, they're going to be mad at you. Like if America bombs another country, they're going to be mad at the Americans. But if America imposes economic sanctions and makes it clear that it's the leader's fault and people start starving, they blame their leader, right? They'll blame their leader because they see the government is not providing for them. And so it's a horrible way to get rid of a leader, right? To undermine him with his people, especially if it's a good leader, right? Which sometimes it is, or at least a better leader than, say, Biden, or, you know, not Biden's not a real leader, but the fake government we have, right? Because sometimes you have good leaders who the powers that be want to get rid of. Like if it's a good leader, an honest man, they're going to have to get rid of him. And one of the ways they do is undermine that leader with his people. And economic sanctions is a way to do it. And so all these human rights activists like this lion MNFer, right, should call that out. They should say exactly what I'm saying. Not that it would make a difference, because it wouldn't. But at least means that you're not some shill who's just going along with the, you know, the liberal agenda and President screw up, right?
I have never been in a country at war in which the people are so united, so determined.
They're the best people in the world.
And again, I mean, that word has become a cliche here, the determination. But the resolve here, elderly women, elderly men, children, everybody, the resolve.
They just have so much resolve. You know, he knows, he saw it on TV.
To not only fight now, but fight for however long and whatever happens.
How do you know for however long? How do you know they're not going to just fold next week? Not that, you know.
Yeah, there's no question in my mind that this is not going to end soon no matter what, because you will have a country of extraordinary insurgencies if Putin is successful.
Wait, the insurgencies that we demonized when it was the Iraqis and, you know, people in Libya or whatever it was, right? The insurgencies that were, like, you know, considered terrorists by the American military and the American media and things like this and politicians. But insurgencies are good now because they're on your side. I mean, this is just such, you know, the hypocrisy here.
In this, there's no sign that Mr. Putin is looking for an off-ramp. And one of the greatest feeling that I have, you know.
Okay, like just stop it. Like you suck so bad. So I just want to say this about, you know, any of this stuff, but let's start, you know, here with the war in the Ukraine, right? And so one of the things I recognize a problem in the so-called truth community, people who are looking for alternative explanations, that they would often lie about the official story, exaggerate things or make things up or claim things that they couldn't prove, right? I mean, I was doing this. I was a part of this in the beginning, and I realized it was wrong. It was dishonest, not because they deserved better, they were good people, but because, you know, I needed to be truthful for myself, right? To be, you know, I mean, if I was a person who was, you know, talking about being a truther or whatever this is that we do here, then I needed to be honest with myself and honest in the way I presented information. This is a comedy channel. I don't do news. I'm not a journalist. You know, I make commentaries. And then there's the spiritual aspect. But I always have wanted to be and tried to be honest, right? And, you know, first of all, with myself. And so that's why you often hear me state the official story, which has helped preserve my YouTube channel. Because I at least want to say, this is what they say the official story is. And I do that, you know, and maybe not in every video, but when I'm covering something, I do it quite often. And because it's important to know other people's point of view. And I don't have to distort that to, you know, mock the crap out of them. To destroy them in a way, you know, whatever, not destroy them because it's not, you know. But in terms of, you know, blowing up their point of view, I can take their point of view and, you know, confront it with truth and, you know, things that we know to be factual, that even the mainstream media says is factual. And it's very easy, right? Like sanctions. Like I can say, you can say whatever you want about how we're heroes, but if you're making children starve and you know it's making them starve and you're doing it anyway and you're not saying shit about it, then you're not the good guy. You're not the hero. The problem with all these Hollywood faketivists and the news media and the politicians is they can't say back the official story, right? So when they're talking about truth community, they talk about QBs, they talk about, you know, crazy Trumpers, and they lie about what those people's point of view is, right? They don't give you an accurate representation of what those people believe. You should at least know what the other side believes. And unless it's just too confusing, you know, I'm making videos right now. I got a couple of ones on the Heartfulness YouTube channel. I got 2, like, you know, long videos coming out about that. And a big one on George Clooney. So these are like things that are going to come out the next couple of days, right? And, you know, I'm working on all these things. And sometimes I'm like, I don't understand why the person's doing this. I don't understand their motivation. I don't understand what they think because it's so, like, batshit, you know. Like, it's just so crazy that I don't understand what their point of view is, even though I try, or at least I can speculate. But the people themselves can't articulate it or won't. They're not making it clear what their motivation is, but their work is really incompetent. But I at least work towards understanding the other point of view before I mock it, right? I don't and I don't make things up unless I do it in a joking way, or things that I might speculate, I do it in a light way. But in terms of their official story, I know what it is. But they can't do that. And what Sean Penn and these other, Faketivists, Hollywood Faketivists, and all these other people are not acknowledging about what is Putin's story. They're saying Putin is evil. They're just saying he's the evil, horrible person. But what is his story? Well, his first thing that he said, which is believable, is, and he went to France and said this to the Macron or whatever it is. Don't care, don't tell, we don't need to know. He said, he said that once the Ukraine makes it into NATO, then if there's any sort of reason for a military conflict, which there inevitably would be between Russia and the Ukraine, or if the Ukraine wants to start, doing things, like the Ukraine now has NATO behind it, so they can do things to provoke Russia, right? Now they have, the advantage of having Europe and America behind them, so they, can stand up to Putin and do whatever they want to Russia, right? And if Russia goes and retaliates, that is an act of war against all of Europe and America. And so that's World War III. And if America moves in weapons and, puts the Russians, at more risk with nuclear missiles closer to home, I mean, all kinds of things can happen that are bad. You want to protect your borders. Everyone knows that, especially in, of the violence that's in our world, the warlike nature. And so that's a legitimate point. And they never acknowledged that he had a legitimate point. They never acknowledged it. They were just forcing their way, and they were, pushing this, right? The Americans were pushing this, and they have been for a while. And I said this went all the way back to when Putin blocked, the illegal regime change war in Syria after America had destroyed Libya, destroyed, the Libyan government and Afghanistan government and the Iraqi government, and then just wrecked those whole regions. I mean, all the lies that America, those were bad wars of choice, right? Had nothing to do with the big event that they said it did. The big event itself was it was just all lies, right? So we know that from the Trump White House hearings that the Ukrainian government was considered corrupt. And I know from personal experience that the Ukrainian people and the Russian people are very much alike because of when I used to go to gatherings, when I was in India at the Heartfulness headquarters, there were people from both Russia and the Ukraine there, right? I met people from all over the world, and there's quite a number of Russians and Ukrainians who do the Heartfulness meditation. And it's a quick flight. It's a much easier flight from Russia to India than it is from America to India. And there was always many more Russians and Ukrainians than there were Americans. And some of them I, talked to, I was friends with, and of course I observed people and saw them. And they were just really sweet, nice people and not really distinguishable. They speak the same language and they all hung out together, right? They weren't at war with each other. They were, they had a lot in common, right? Even more so than we have with like Canadians. And so, it isn't like the people are so different or whatever it is. And it's these governments, and I'm not saying anything good about Putin and, Tucker Carlson, any of these people, but these Hollywood Faketivists, when there's an issue, what side they're going to come on, and what side they're going to, what they're going to say, right? And that's what makes them Faketivists, because they're not taking a critical thinking stand and doing some analysis and being open and finding out what the other point of view is. They're just going to come on and say the same sort of things, just like the news media, and it's completely fake, right? And so I don't know what's really going on in the Ukraine. I know there's a lot of different theories, and but I know that they're lying about it because they always do, and it's so obvious, right? If you turn on the news media coverage, and the way they're talking about Putin is the same way they talked about Trump, and they never talked about Trump's actual positions. They just made this, they make a version of it, like a claymation version of their enemies, and they just demonize the people. And, Fox News taught MSNBC and CNN how to do this. Like MSNBC and CNN tried to pretend to be, more neutral, and they tried to, give more balanced news, and Fox was just, blowing them up in the ratings. So they just realized, hey, if we can't beat them, join them. And they started the same stuff. And then Trump came along, right, which was a godsend for them. And they had ratings. And a lot of people hated Trump, but they were never accurate. They never created an accurate version. Just like the people who loved Trump didn't create an accurate version of him, right? People just love to lie to themselves and delude themselves. But clearly they are, working this war and pushing an anti-Putin agenda. And if this thing goes south and it ends up in nuclear war, which I believe it will be because of the heartfulness, meditation prophecies, then, that sucks, right? I mean, nuclear war isn't cool. And, it's heading in that direction, right? And all these faketivists and all these, MNFers, I mean, it's just icky. Like, they're just so icky. They just get everything wrong, and they just do things in a very, in a deceptive fashion. And these Hollywood stars, like, a lot of them they're just so narcissistic, right? If you understand how they are in real life, and they really want people to look at them. They're all attention seekers. I mean, Madam Expiration Date is one of the worst ones. And they take political positions because they want people to look at them. They don't, they don't have well thought out or well researched positions. They just go along with the status quo. We saw this throughout with COVID, and they're told to hate Trump, so they hate Trump, and they just, it's so hard to look at, right? Because it's just so fake. It's like, the popular kids at school trying to act like they're nice or whatever in high school or whatever it is, right? And the people, you're like, they're not nice, right? They're pretending to be nice, but they're not. Like, you know them. And when people like are just so fake and disingenuous and, contrived and posers, this is more of the poser stuff. Hollywood faketivist posers, and, it just gets old. And all these people a lot of them have like a spiritual practice, and they try to be spiritual. But if you're really spiritual, then you understand that there are things happening for a reason. That beyond the so-called controllers, beyond the right-wing people, beyond the Putin and the communists, beyond the governmental and political and economic, corporate reasons for doing all these things, that there is a divine plan here. And you have to accept that in your own life. Sometimes things don't go your way. And sometimes, it's there to show you that you got things backwards, you got things wrong, or you're looking at it in the wrong way. That there's a divine plan here. And, these people are just players. They're just all playing out something that's been scripted on a divine level beyond their, material control. And that there's an outcome that is under no one can change that divine outcome. No one can interfere with it, right? I mean, it could be delayed by divine beings who, have the power to do such things. But the rest of us, like, it's just something that's going to play out, and, it's not something that we can change, right? And I talk about that consistently here. But we manifest the world from the inside out, right? Our ideas, our intentions. Whenever we plan something and we execute that plan and we bring it into reality, we manifest it into reality, it starts inside ourselves. And so that's, I talk about the heartfulness meditation. It's a way to divinize your internal world, elevate your, what's inside of you, and then you start manifesting a better world, better leaders, and more, it's going to be more of a reflection of your soul and your relationship with God. And so that's where we've gotten off course, because people's internal worlds are a mess. It's getting worse with each generation, so the world's getting worse. We're collectively manifesting something. The leaders are getting worse, and the materiality is getting worse, and everything's getting more unnatural and crazier, and they're pushing for this. It's getting more demonic. And the way that you combat that is connecting to God, purifying yourself, and working towards a divine relationship, a relationship with the divinity that's within, and then you start radiating out a higher vibration, and the world reflects that. Like, that's the heartfulness plan. And, if you're not into that, then you're just being part of the problem. Like, if you're not willing to work on what's inside of you and just want to point fingers, hey, look at these people over here, they suck, right? And that's everybody. Like, once you realize that the only person you can change, the only thing you can really change is what's inside of you. And by doing that, you can change the external world by, becoming a more spiritual person and radiating out higher vibratory, loving energy. And that's like, the only thing that we can do to make the world a better place. And it's necessary because that's the only, way that we can save save ourselves from ourselves, right? And whatever. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Rovato, definitely reporting for the Apocalaughs and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.